What's going on, everybody? Gary B. Jr. here, your media consultant, and today we're jumping into the lab. So we're going to be talking about a setup that we found on Reddit. So I'm going to show you guys what they said here. Basically, they said they want to know the best way to show lyrics on stage display, but slideshow on the in-house and live stream. And so they said we want to have a slide show that plays on the in-house and live stream outputs before service. All right. So a slideshow that plays on the in-house and live stream. For us today, we're going to use a video, but for you, it might be some type of looping show or something like that, which actually I can do that. I'll do a looping show, just my intro or something like that. And then it says the issue is the worship team wants to practice and needs lyrics. I haven't been able to figure out a way to have lyrics on the stage output without having lyrics on the in-house output. Any recommendations on how to set this up? So let's talk about this. They are in practice at church. Church has not begun. The choir needs to practice, the praise team needs to practice, and they're there to help them practice, but the choir and the praise team needs the lyrics. They need to put them up on the stage display. But while people are mingling and talking and hanging out and getting meeting and greeting, and getting donuts, coffee, whatever happens in your service before the service happens, this is what everybody's doing. And they want to have some type of looping show to be playing in-house to kind of keep the atmosphere consistent with what people see in terms of announcements maybe or a video, whatever it may be. But it would be playing silently for sure because the choir team is still practicing, right? And so you want to be able to show those actual lyrics to them behind or in the back of the service, the back of the church while they're practicing so they can read the lyrics while they sing and practice without everybody else being distracted and still being able to see this looping slideshow video, whatever it is that you've got that you typically play before service. Maybe it's a countdown or something like that, right? So let's talk about how to do that. I've got FreeShow here and we're going to dive in together. So I'm just going to use this practice project that I've got, and I'm going to go to this here. This is interesting. So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to put it into the countdown, and I'm going to adjust it by removing some of this because we don't need all this. So we'll do delete from show, delete from show, delete from show. And I'm going to act like this video is my opening countdown. I don't need two of them right now. All right, so we got a video here and I'm going to put a timer on there. Let's do timers. And I'm going to say towards a certain time. So we're going to make a timer that is towards, say 5:30. Oh, and then I'll pick a time by selecting that. And we're going to do 5:30. All right, PM. That's perfect. Hit enter, and then it can overflow, I guess. We're going to walk through it. So hopefully we'll finish it up in the next 20 minutes. All right, so now that's done. So I got my 5:30 p.m. timer. I can do a number of different things, but I'm going to probably turn it into an overlay. That's the simplest way for me to do it and still maintain control, which is something that I like. So I got my timers here. So I'm going to do a new overlay, and we're going to call this one 5:30 p.m. And all I'm going to do is go in and add a timer. And I'm going to select my 5:30 p.m. timer, and it shows up right there. Perfect. And I'm just going to have that sit right in the middle. And you can customize this to be however you want to, obviously. I'm going to make it to where it's somewhat transparent. Opacity, let's pull that down to 50. And now we'll go to the show. And I'm going to just select this. And I'm going to select this. And so you can see the timer going there. You'll see the actual video behind it. Perfect. So we got our intro countdown video set up or whatever we want to call it. but we've also got a live stream setup we need to bring in. So I'm going to go to my settings and I'm going to go to my live stream setup that I've got here. And I've got it set to a live orange style, which will show the background, slide, and overlays. That's fine. And actually, I'm going to turn off the slides for now and just show the background. For your setup, whatever you have for your live stream during the countdown, what I would recommend is to have it go to your default output style as opposed to your live stream output style, right? And so what I would do is I'll turn this back on and turn that off. That's my typical output from my live stream, which is probably what yours looks like. So what I would do instead is let's go back into our outputs and let's pick a different style. So I'm just going to call this one default and we'll enable that. And so we got our default. It looks like that. And I'm not sure why it looks like that because I'm playing a video. There we go. Okay. And they're starting up at 2 different times. Let's do a reset. I'm going to clear all, start them up at the same time. And then we'll start our timer again. Boom. So they're identical. That's the idea. They're going to be playing at the exact same time, the exact same way. Now we've got our stage display. All right. So the fix here is we've got our setup how it typically is. Okay. And typically what would happen is we would go to a song, we would have the lyrics, and the lyrics would show up in here. There wouldn't be an overlay, so we wouldn't have the overlay. But this is typically how service looks. He may have it to where his live display has lower thirds, right? But right now we're going to leave that off. We're not going to have the lower thirds. But what we're going to do is we're going to create another output. Okay, so I'm going to create one called practice. Okay, and I've actually already created it. Let's go back into our outputs and I'm going to go to choir practice here. I'm going to turn this one on. I've got it set as an invisible window. I've got my live stream set up as an invisible window, which is typical because it's going out through NDI. And then my primary output, if I go to edit that one, it's not an invisible window. It's actually going to a real place, to a real screen, the one right behind me here. All right. So you probably seen it changing as we go. All right. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how we're going to get our practice lyrics for choir practice to show up on our stage display while the video is playing on the live stream and for our in-house guests that are chatting. So let's go back up here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename this one. I'm going to call this one intro video for practice. All right, just so it makes more sense. So we got that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag this on to there just so we can automatically be on. And I just drag the overlay on top of that. So now when I click it, this is what we get. Okay, we get practice, we get the timer on all of our outputs, which makes total sense. All right, so now if you look behind me, you'll see the video playing, which is what we want. Okay, and the timer's going, which is what we want. But we've got this practice stage that's up here. So these are in order. So primary, choir, and then live. So primary, choir, live, and then the stage. So we've got those all set up and ready. They're going to show something different in a minute, but the next thing we need to do is we need to set up our stage so that it's going to get an output that's not from the primary, but it's going to come from this choir. All right. So we need to go to our stage layouts and you need to create something like this. I've already created a stage or a practice layout for my stage. And what we do is when you select that, what you're going to see is on the far right, when you hit the little caret icon up here, you can change the source output for each of your stage layouts. So each stage layout can have a different source that feeds it, which is crazy, right? So I got this one set to the source for the output source to be the choir output or choir practice. I'm sorry. Okay. Whereas this one, if I go over to my options, you'll see the source output is just set to default. And what it is, it just goes to the primary, okay, which is the very first one on your list. And I got a 1 next to my primary, just so it's always top of the list. I think that's how that works, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to change this particular stage layout that's showing up here, we're going to change it with an action. So I'm going to create an action. I'll go back to my functions and I'm going to go to actions and I'm going to select a new action and we're going to call this one, I'm just call it choir practice stage. All right. And then it says choose action and change stage output layout is right there, right in the middle for output. So we're going to change the stage output layout. So I'm going to select that. And we're going to pick the layout by hitting this drop down and I'm going to select the one that says practice. All right. So it says output, all outputs, and this is in terms of all stage outputs. So it gives you stage training, and then I got a countdown layout. These are just my stage outputs that I've got created. It's going to go to all of them. Usually you're going to only have one stage layout that you're going to be using because you're going to have one stage output, which makes more sense. But if you got multiple stage outputs, you want to pick which one you got active. All right. So for me, choir practice stage is my action. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it now. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select that action and check out what happens. It automatically goes blank because there's no lyrics or anything like that to show. So now we've got to take the next step and we need to lock off our primary and our live stream outputs to where they will stay in the loop that they're in. They're going to keep playing that video or your slideshow that you've got it set to, or the show that you got it set to. And I'm going to go over now and I'm going to select I Speak Jesus. All right. And I can select this particular song and I can clear this overlay. And it's only happening on the choir practice output, which then feeds into the stage layout. So the people in the choir can see this from the stage. And this is what I'm looking at behind the scenes as I am facilitating and orchestrating the media. The people in the church are seeing this countdown, which you can see behind me. It's playing a video. And then people online are seeing the same thing with a video playing with the countdown. And so now we can go through the entire song. And I've just got a real basic stage layout, but it's the black one there. It's showing up. We can customize that. I can make it more fun to see. So we can make it to where it shows two different things. This is let's see here. I'll make it look like this. I'll drag this out to there, and then we'll add in another item. That'll be the next slide. We'll bring that down and we'll make this text be down here. Uh-oh. And this one here. And we'll make it be a little bit thinner so it can be a little smaller, right? And then I like the idea of making it be a little bit darker. So it'll be like a gray. We'll make it a little bit darker gray. Choose custom and we'll bring this down. Boom. All right. So we got that. So now we got our show. We got our lyrics. We got our practice going. They're practicing. Now they're going to shift to the ocean song. So we can go here. And now it shows the upcoming text showing up there. And I can select this. And they now see their lyrics. They're practicing. They're going through practice. And nobody online or nobody in the actual church building that's drinking coffee, eating donuts, or hanging out, giving hugs, catching up with what's going on. All they know is in 9 minutes service is going to start, while the choir team or the praise team is practicing lyrics, and you behind the scenes on camera, you can see the actual show. And then the folks that are on stage singing, they can see the actual notes. Okay. So they can, not notes, but they can see the actual stage layout that they need to see the lyrics to. Okay. Now, when service starts up, you want to be able to put something in that says, all right, now we're going to go back to the regular stage layout. So let's go to new action here. I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call it plain stage. And I'm going to go to options here. And we're going to say custom activation. So if you hit this little options icon, you can do a custom activation. And you can say, I want it to start up and activate when a timer is ending. All right. So we're going to say, okay, well, what timer do we want to be ending? And we would say, let's pick, it says any timer. I'm going to pick the 5:30 p.m. timer just to be specific. And then now we choose our action that's going to happen when that timer ends. So I'm going to go here and I would select outputs and we say change stage layout. Okay. And then we're going to pick the stage layout we want, which is, we'll do our general stage layout. I can't remember which one we had before, but we'll do general stage layout. And it's just going to automatically do that for you. You don't have to worry about that. And I'll say plain stage at 5:30. For you, it might be plain stage at start of service or something like that. Okay. I would call it something indicative of what you're dealing with. All right. So now I can close that. And that's down here in my actions, plain stage. And it says activate when timer is ending. It gives you that clue to let you know what's going on. And that's important. And so now you've already got everything set up for your choir to see. You've got everything set up for when service starts up. You will have it to where the stage display goes back to what everybody's used to seeing. Maybe they got some announcements or something like that. They don't want to see it this way. They want to see it look like the general stage, which we talked about. So it'll look like something like this one, right? So there'll be more general to where it'll show this, that, and some timers and slide notes and all that kind of stuff that may be necessary and helpful for you during service. All right. And so I'll fast forward because I got it set to a time, but we'll see what it looks like at that time and see what happens here. All right, so I think we got everything covered. Let me make sure, check my notes. We're in the lab, so we got to have a practice output, got to have, and that's going to be invisible. So that's our practice output here. It's invisible. You got to have a main output that's going to be on a loop. We got a main output. We've also got our online output or our live stream output that's on a loop with that, showing the exact same thing, which is completely okay. And then we need to have a stage layout for our service, right? Which we talked about. Ours is called general stage, which is here. And then you're going to need a stage output for the practice. Now, the thing that makes these different is this general stage output. If I hit this little arrow for more options, the source output is the primary. It's just defaults to that. But you can automatically make it select that if you want to by hitting the drop down and pick primary. But if you leave it blank, it's going to go to the very first one that you've got there. But the other one, the practice stage layout, the output for the options for that one, the source is the choir practice. All right. So that's this one. So I got mine in order here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 outputs active. They're in order on the preview just as much. So this is primary because that's at the top, choir practice because that's at the top, and then the bottom two are these bottom two here. Once you get that all set up, you can start your loop that you want. Start the show, start the video, whichever one it is, and it'll automatically loop. As long as you got the actions set up to where it'll go on a timer or whatever it is on those slides, it could be a full show that you're doing and just lock it off by selecting the title. Okay. When you select the title up here, it actually locks that output to stay on that show, or it locks that output to stay on that video, whatever you've got in that particular show. Okay. It'll go through it as long as you got it set to where it'll automatically go to the next slide and next slide. It'll just keep going through that. As long as you got it set to where it'll loop and go back to the start of the show, it'll do that. Okay. After you've got all that set up, I'm checking my notes here. We set up an action for the practice stage layout. So when you come in for choir practice, maybe it's 45 minutes ahead of service, 30 minutes ahead of service, we've created a choir practice stage. Okay. So we created a stage action for choir practice that automatically we just click it and it'll change our stage to be the choir practice stage, which we have here. Which is just a very basic stage that has the current slide text and then the next slide text, and they're slightly grayed out. Okay. Once that's set up, we created another action that's going to go once this timer is done, practice is over. It'll change the actual stage to be what we call the plain stage or the general stage. Okay. So it's going to automatically go back to this plain stage output for this particular stage output here. It's going to go back to the general practice. All right. So that's how it works. Those are all the components you need. And you can now manage choir practice in the middle of the countdown or the beginning of service, I should say, while everybody's mingling. They can still see the announcement slides and all that cool stuff that you got going on here. timer, I got my timer biggest day right in the middle. You would have yours customized maybe in the corner or something like that. Whatever works best for you. It doesn't even have to be up there, but it's really helpful for those in the congregation and the fellowship to know what to expect. And so then you just wait for that time to hit and it'll automatically change. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so we're back with 13 seconds left. This is what's going to happen when it's time for service to start on the stage. Now, you can do some other triggers to make it go to a certain another slide for the main and the primaries, but this is really just what I want to show you guys what's going to happen on the stage. And you notice there, it automatically triggered and it just turned into a regular stage output. You can also unlock these now. You can bring in whatever slides you want to have and all that kind of stuff. But yes, so that's the idea of what would happen for that. And like I said, you would probably have it done well before then. So you would have already unlocked these. You would have gone into, some type of, let's see here, I got offering, but you would have gone into something else that shows up. You would clear that out, that overlay out, and you would be ready to start service with your whatever you're going to be doing to begin the service, right? But I just wanted to show you guys what that trigger would look like when you set it up in the actions, because the triggers are something that are really cool that help simplify your workflow. And like I said, all these other things could have been set up with a trigger as well. So hopefully you enjoy that. Let me know how you would handle something like this in the comments below. If this is something that could be useful for you in your current setup and you just didn't know how to do it, hopefully this can help. And or let me know how you handle choir practice. I know for me, I will handle it where it's going to be on a different day, but maybe there's some touch-ups and things like that that they need to do right before service starts, which I can respect and understand. Totally not my world. I'm more on the media side of things, so I will give them all the respect they need. This is a way that you will be equipped to be able to do that and still be able to meet their needs in a highly effective way. All right, till next time, I'm Gary B. Jr. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it helped you in a major way. Now, at this point, most people would ask you to like and subscribe, and I think that's great, but my goal is a little bit different. My goal is to empower as many people as possible all over the globe. And there's one way that you can really help me do that, and that is to leave a comment below with a question, a thought, how this video may have helped you, or things that were left out that you still have questions about, and to share this video with someone just like you. Someone who is looking for answers, someone who's curious and wants to grow. With your help, I believe we can build a community of people that want to grow together. So until next time, God bless.